Welcome to the second episode of the Curious Cuenca podcast by YapaTree. In this episode, we're talking to some of Cuenca's theatre geeks. We have 3 volunteers from the Azuay Community Theatre that are going to share their journey with you. Tiny bit about this podcast first. Curious Cuenca is a video podcast where we interview interesting people from various walks of life who live in Cuenca, Ecuador. Guests include new and old expats, businesses, interesting locals, and Cuenca-based non-profit organizations. These non-profits also play a key role in the podcast as we allow you to donate to them. There are many great charities in Cuenca that could really do with additional funds, and this podcast acts as a conduit for you to donate to them. You can donate via this link, and once we hit a threshold of $500, we'll donate it to a local charity on a rotating basis. I'm your host, Jason, and I manage YapaTree. Today's guests are Rick, Cody, and Derek. Thanks a million for joining us today. I'm very glad that you could all make it. Today's topic could very easily be described as an extension of our first episode, where we focused on reinventing yourself in Cuenca. Feel free to find that episode in your podcast feed. This is one of my favorite themes because there really are so many opportunities for expats here in Cuenca to embrace change. One possibility is to join Cuenca's local community theatre, ACT. And today, we're going to highlight some of these opportunities and get to know some of the people that keep the theatre ticking. Let's start with Rick. Welcome to the podcast, Rick. YapaTree readers will likely know Rick from his various articles that he's written for us. Rick's background is in the US, was mainly working with large financial institutions, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that it's only since you've been in Cuenca that you've been able to really embrace your love of theatre and directing.
Yes, I started out as a very young person, becoming involved in the community theater where I grew up, and then later in life, after I returned to Chicago for about 12 years, was involved and learned a little bit more about directing, but coming to Cuenca and joining ACT has been a real boon to my theater interest.
Awesome, but you were doing stuff in Chicago before. What sort of stuff were you doing in Chicago?
Well, I was part of a 100-year-old community theater outside of Chicago called the Theater of Western Springs, and it's still going strong, and it was a great place to learn about every aspect of the theater.
Very, very cool. And why did you choose ACT to volunteer in?
Well, it's interesting because I learned about it as I was writing an article for YapaTree about different organizations here in Cuenca, and that where people could donate their time and money. And I ended up interviewing some of the team from ACT and learned that there was a really strong core of talent.
That's really, I didn't know you did that. So you got involved because of the articles that you were writing.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And so you were doing directing, or you're doing stuff in Chicago, and then you were moving that over here. So it seems like a fairly natural inclination to join the theatre. Like, what else was driving you towards it? Was it, to get in touch with the community, or what were the drivers?
Well, I think, for the first few years that I lived here, I was trying different things to find some purpose. Some of it was commercially oriented, some of it was volunteer work, and nothing really stuck. And then when I learned about theater, I thought, so I've heard about these guys. They've been around for 6 years or so, but I really never plugged into it because, well, I was doing other things. But once I've interviewed some of the board and some of the directors for that article, I said, there's something here that, to work with and to be part of that would allow me to resurrect all those years of fun and experience that I had in the States.
Awesome. And I do always see you recruiting volunteers for ACT. It seems like that is almost a full-time job itself. Now, is this part of a formal role, like, I don't know, a volunteer manager, or is it just you rolling up your sleeves and just trying to help out?
Well, I think I just started doing it naturally because a lot of the work that I'd done in the States, for a living had to do with networking.
Yeah.
And I learned those skills, and I saw a need to increase the amount of talented people that were involved in the theater, and the needs of the organization were pretty plain to me. And so I started keeping my ears open for those people and found them, and we got them enrolled in many cases. That is not an official capacity, and I still do that, and I think many of us do. wherever we.
I'm always sending people there as well.
Well, we appreciate that, by the way. But I'm not the official volunteer coordinator. Cody's doing that.
Oh, fantastic. Awesome, Cody.
Did you know that?
And what type of volunteer opportunities are there, Cody? Let's bring in you on this.
Everything. We first started out with a really small core group of people, but we've always had auditions. So actors, anybody who's ever wanted to act or would love to act, we would love to have you come to auditions. And the theater takes so many people really to run it well. I mean, we need people in advertising, marketing, ticket sales, in managing money, interested in lights, interested in sound, engineers who are interested in solving production problems, how to manage our sets, people who like to paint, people who want to collect props, people who do hair and makeup. Really, we were talking earlier about the theater is good when there's magic in the details. And the details in the theater are so vast in every single area. So for anyone who's new or old to Cuenca and has a talent, whether it's marketing or business or acting or lights or sound or makeup or just hosting people, likes to greet people when they come to the theater and take tickets or serve drinks behind the bar, we're open. We could use you. Come join us.
Awesome. So there's a bunch of different ways that people can get involved. That's great. And just coming back, Rick, to you and what you're doing with the theatre, because I know that your main passion is directing, and you've directed some plays. Most recently, I think it was Dumbo, Red, White, and Blacklisted.
Or Trumbo, Red, White. Yes,
Trumbo.
Dumbo. We haven't done that one yet.
Well, now I want to do that. That sounds
that's
fun.
a good idea. We'll put it on the list.
So that was a Freudian slip, but no. But what was your path to directing? So, did they just open up the red carpet and say, "Hey, Rick, we need directors," or did you effectively have to, work your way up? Because that seems like a coveted position.
Well, yeah. So it actually is. People that do it only do it because they absolutely love it, because it's a giant pain in the neck. But I love it, and I got involved pretty early in my association and volunteered to do this. I sort of had to encourage people to consider me for it, even though I had a lot of experience. It was a little different than based on the kind of productions that are done here, which are full-size productions. And I learned directing through a directing workshop group and so forth in the States. So I eventually got myself into the mix. For example, the first play that I directed was a 10-minute play. And they saw, okay, he knows something about what he's doing. So there's always been, and there still are, a shortage of directors. It is something that takes quite a while to learn how to do. And if you don't, and so we will, for people that are interested in directing but don't have all the relevant experience, we have not a system so much, but we have a path that we can put them in that gets them to the
Great.
point.
So you would potentially, accept people that are interested in doing that.
Oh, sure.
I assume there's a lot of competition, for that.
One would assume that. We are very lucky to have attracted in the past year 3 or 4 new experienced directors.
That's great.
Who we're now engaging right now in this season and plan to do in the coming season. So, but that's not going to. We're not going to turn anybody away that wants to learn how to do that, because there's plenty of opportunity in the course of time.
Maybe they start with a 10-minute play,
exactly,
like you did,
or they may start as a stage manager, or something like that,
That's
or
awesome.
then work on lights, and then become part of the set construction crew, because it is something where you have to have a knowledge of every aspect of a production to do.
Yeah. No, I understand. So that's really cool, Rick. Thanks for that. But let's bring Cody back in. I've seen you act in 2 of the ACT productions, and I have to say I did really enjoy your performances, so thank you. And probably a little bit more than I personally was expecting. I've been to community theatre events in the past, and whilst the effort was always to be applauded, sometimes the execution was something to be desired a little bit. And so I guess my expectations were rather low, but you helped smash any preconception that I had. And I guess you turned me from a little bit of a community theatre skeptic to a believer. And so
you.
for this, thanks a bunch, Cody. And so my question really is, I understand that you do have a background of professional acting in the US. Can you just give me, a very, very quick background of, your acting work before you came here and also whilst you're here?
Well, I've always really loved to dance and loved to act. So I went to university to get my master's degree in psychological counseling and became a counselor, which I really love and which really actually fits acting really, really well. But while doing that, and I've always kind of been a gypsy at heart, I began to look for auditions, first in theaters. And so even in graduate school, I began to work with a really, really large community theater, but they had an enormous budget and a huge theater. And then from there, started going to auditions for commercials and small parts in TV shows. I was living in Denver with my husband, and luckily Viacom from LA came to Denver, so I was able to get my Screen Actors Guild and my AFTRA card in the early 1980s. And like most working actors, if you're going to support yourself, really comes from industrial films, commercials, any kind of film and television parts that come through your city if you're not in LA or New York. But I always did tons of theater and did equity theater, which is professional theater, as well as community theater and semi-professional, any part that was a really good role. And then I started working overseas with my counseling degree. But it was great because whatever country I went to, there would usually always be a British theater company. I got to do plays with British theater companies in Taiwan and in Bahrain and in Cyprus, different places where I was working. So when I came to Cuenca in 2011, around 2014, there was the beginnings of ACT. And then, I don't know, somehow one of the founding members, we met and I joined the first production of ACT way back in 2015.
Wow. So how many productions would you say you've been in?
I think I've done about 12 over the years. I went back to work for a while and was out of Cuenca. But, in all that time, we've done full stage performances. We've done radio plays. If you're a person who loves the 1940s theater or any kind of radio play, we did stage readings of plays. And so and then I've worked as stage manager and other things. So
directing next?
We hope so.
Sounds like you got all the parts there.
I think I would be a mean director. And not in a good way,
No, I can't see that.
Being an actress, I have such passion and beliefs in how to create a character that, I don't know, I might not be a very kind director, so maybe I shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I'll be interested to find out if you do that. And so obviously acting is something that you're super passionate about, that comes through. And I assume this is the main role with ACT. But what, if you were to, let's say, migrate, let's say you're not acting, where would you see yourself, contributing to ACT, right now in the next few plays?
Oh, well, I'm not in the cast of the play Black Spirit that's coming up, and probably won't be in the next one after that. But, I take tickets at the door. I'm happy to host being a bartender. If they need me backstage to help change costumes or saying Chet.
So it sounds like you're just turning up and they're going to give you something to do.
Yeah, and then sometimes there's not, we have volunteers for hospitality, and so sometimes they don't need me for that. But if you like theater, it's just fun to be there and to support others.
Cody's being very modest because she's also a very active member of the board of directors, as well as the chair of the play selection committee, which is an important committee as she could probably explain.
See, what does the board of directors do? Just in very, very simple terms.
Oh God, having served on not-for-profit boards before, I can imagine. Those are not fun.
Well, right now the board's really, since we have a new theater home as of last April. No.
It was something we just started in there. The first production was
Cemetery Club.
Cemetery
not that
Club
long
in the
ago.
fall. In the fall, yeah.
And so we're still developing the space, and so there's a lot of talk about what needs to be done, and how to come up with the money, and being kind to our donors who are helping us raise funds to improve the theater. Like right now, we're going to build a bar, and we're making the lobby much nicer, and there's always things that we need for the set. So a lot of that is discussion, and then approving the plays that we're going to choose for next season. And there's a group of us who've been reading plays and talking about what plays to select for next season and what people might like to see.
Fantastic. So that sounds like a lot of effort. Sounds like you're going to be pretty busy there. So I know that ACT has come a long way since the last couple of years, especially since COVID. Like I've really seen it flourish. And so I guess my question to you is, you've got a lot of experience with different theatres, across the board, different countries. How do you rate the ACT theatre, sort of overall? And be honest, what's missing maybe?
What's missing? Right now we have expanded so much. I mean, I wasn't involved for quite a while during COVID, and the things that kept going. And then once Rick and other people, Derek, got involved, and we got this new theater space. Bob Hay has been so instrumental in keeping the theater going, and as a bunch of other people have in the past. Ray and Linda Lewis. There's so many people we should thank. It's amazing. Like our sound is growing and growing. Through Derek, light systems are growing and growing. The new set and the stages are amazing. Marion is doing all these great special effects. I mean, right now, I don't think anything is missing except for younger and middle-aged actors. Please, younger and middle-aged actors here in Cuenca, come so we can do a wider variety of praise other than with us old folks.
Awesome. There's a call out here. You heard it. Please, younger, middle actors, come up. So in terms of you said the theatre didn't exist when you first came here, correct? So you were the one that helped to...
I actually went to the very first meeting, but no, I wasn't part of getting it started.
Right.
There was a woman named Dina Culp and Juanita Ruth One and Linda Chase. They were all involved in the beginnings. And the first play was done in early 2015, and they did a Western melodrama up in a community room in La Esquina.
Fantastic.
And I got involved when one of the characters became ill and they needed a fill-in.
Yeah, very cool. So obviously it wasn't part of your decision-making process to move here, but the volunteering side of things in general, was that did Cuenca appeal to you because of that, or why did you choose Cuenca in the end?
I've always loved living someplace different than myself, and I grew up in New Mexico, so I love Latino culture, and I had already been working overseas since 2004 and hadn't really seen South America. So when my husband and I heard about Cuenca, we were like, what the heck, let's go there. And so we did.
Awesome. It's a very adventurous attitude. I love it. Thanks very much, Cody. That was very nice. And that brings us to our third guest today, ACT volunteer, Derek. Thanks for joining us, Derek, and thanks for being patient over there. I can see you wanted to jump in. So, you're making a little bit of a habit of joining us for the videos, and I do appreciate that. You and your partner did previously generously allowed us into your home, and we did a bit of an apartment tour with you guys, so thanks for that. So I will link to that video as well if you guys want to check that out. But Derek, you're a bit of a newer member of the ACT, I understand. Why did you get involved?
Well, actually, so when Gerald and I moved here, you know John Olson. So he is he met John Olson in Chicago when they both lived there, and John Olson actually asked me at one point, there's a play in Dumbo as the first elephant in there. No, it's Trumbo.
Oh, okay.
As the narrator, the son of Dalton Trumbo. So, would you like to audition? So that's how I came to know Rick, and how I came to become involved with ACT. Yeah. And after that, I decided that I'd like to kind of learn lighting and help out with that. And as it would turn out, the person that was kind of like heading up lighting completely was wanting to kind of step away to focus on other volunteer opportunities. So with that, it's like, okay, well, they need a lighting guy. So let me disassemble this. Let me figure this out. And actually, for the last play, I took down all of the lights. Finally, I'm like, okay, I'm going to figure this out how it works, so I can train other people.
Yeah.
Once I got that established, then we started finding more people that were really interested in learning the programming of the lights. So right now we have we have a great team. We have John Trammell, who has been doing sound for how long has he been doing?
A couple of years.
Couple of years.
Yeah, so he's he's been doing sound for a couple of years. He's learning lights. We have Mike Casto that's been doing great work with converting us over to a more open source application to control the lights and the sound in one system. We have Sarah Lee Squires. We have and Marion Keith, who focuses a lot on the practical effects and the stage design and everything, but he's also learning that.
Yeah. So you got a whole little team going over there, and you got a bit of a process going on by the sounds of it.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I do want to go back to doing some kind of work and everything else, so I won't be able to devote as much time as it would take for one person to do this.
Sure.
But what my strengths are from my prior career is I can train people, I can motivate people, I can bring people in and get them excited about doing this stuff.
Great. So what's next for you with the theatre? So you got the lighting team sort of in place. Do you move on to something else? Stick with lighting?
I don't know.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, the way that I'm kind of seeing it right now, and the nice thing about ACT is it's very fluid.
Yeah.
If you're competent, if you know what you're doing, there's a lot of things you can just go into. So right now it's kind of like, I feel like there needs to be some organization in there, make sure that everybody knows what's going on and that type of stuff. And that's something I can do on the weekends if I need to.
Sure.
Whereas we have other people that are able to do stuff on the weekdays.
I hear they're after middle-aged actors. So is that
that's how we got
camera?
recruited in the first place.
Oh, really?
Did you just call me middle-aged?
No.
He played a younger character in Trumbo.
Middle-aged and young.
Yeah, but that was an example of where we had to look high and low for months.
So you started there with Trumbo.
Yeah,
I did.
As an actor, which he'd
fantastic.
not really done much of.
I've never done that before.
Yeah,
wow.
So were you doing the lights first or the acting first?
The acting first, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah, but also, talking about finding younger actors as well, Gerald and Pamela Phoenix have been working with the college to bring in local Cuenca, born and raised natives.
Yes,
Local.
that's fantastic. I mean, for their English as well, I imagine that would be a really good opportunity for them.
But that also can include, hospitality. That can include anything they'd want to be involved in.
Yeah.
So,
okay,
we're definitely building it up.
That's really cool. And in terms of the theatre itself, it sounds like you were kind of introduced to the theatre by some members of the community. But how has the theatre itself helped with your sense of community here in Cuenca?
It's helped a lot. It's introduced me to a lot of new people that I might not have otherwise met. And I've always enjoyed going to theater productions. Chicago had a very strong community theater scene, and Gerald and I, we signed on to a lot of them to see the plays and everything. So it's been really fun to see how it all happens on the back end of it. And there's a lot more work than I would have expected.
Sure, I can imagine. And I assume there's a bit of a learning curve with some of the work.
Oh yeah.
How I know you have support with other people in the theatre, but how was that for you? Learning the new lighting skills as an example.
That took a while, because I'd never worked with DMX lights before. I've done sound work for videos. I've never done sound work for, okay, this is a speaker out here, outside of Halloween decorations. So, and by the way, we got rid of a humongous Halloween collection coming here, and I wish I had not, but anyway, it's been interesting. It's been a lot to learn and a lot to pick up on.
So this has taken you a lot of effort, and taken up a lot of time, and I respect that. But did you consider any other volunteer activities, or why why did you choose the theater?
It was there. You know, we when we came here, I wanted time away from work. So this would have started probably 4 months into our stay into Cuenca before I really decided what I wanted to do. Yeah. So that's kind of, the timing was right, pretty much. Awesome.
And so in the future, you're going to move to a different team, or you're just going to see how what are you doing for the next production? Are you still in lighting?
Yeah, the next production, I am kind of leading the light crew and the sound crew, and just making sure everything happens with that. After that, what I'm hoping to do is to kind of like take a step away from this and see how things operate without me being there, like right in there most of the time, and then just be in there as an as-needed basis, like somebody gets confused or somebody needs to talk something out or something like that. Beyond that, I don't know. We'll see. I'm happy to focus on just doing like the technical work, because that's where I've spent my whole career, was in tech, and I'm good at it. So.
Sure. I'm sure those skills are very much appreciated, at the theater as well. I know Rick's always bugging me for technology-based stuff. And in terms of, let's just open the floor now, guys. So thanks, Derek. That was really helpful. I do appreciate that. What was perhaps the most surprising experience that you guys have had through working with ACT? Something you didn't expect?
Well, I'll say there's a couple things that I'll point out. One is that once we sort of built the core group up a little bit with experienced people, we experienced a huge leap in membership. People coming out of the woodwork when they saw that what we were doing and what we were putting on the stage was very high quality, and that's what attracts people, is they want to be part of a successful venture. Yeah. And we got people like Derek and Marion and a load of new actors who came out of the woodwork to become part of our theater because they saw us doing a good job and having fun. And that's the prevailing sentiment that we try, feeling that we try to project. And I think we're doing a pretty good job. Mm-hmm. People want to be a part of it.
Selling out recently, right?
The last show, we sold out before we opened the doors to the first performance.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And so we've added a performance to the next couple of plays schedules. So we'll have 5 performances for the.
So are you doing? I know you've changed venues. Has that changed the schedule at all, or
I mean, having our own permanent home again has made it possible for us to make a lot of decisions that we couldn't make when we were in a limbo and performing in borrowed spaces. The other point I'd like to make to those of you who may be listening from the United States is that a story that took place from the show we did in the fall called The Cemetery Club that Cody was in. We had someone who found us on Facebook who had been making plans to move to Cuenca, and she saw that there was a play for which we were holding auditions, and she got in touch with us, and because she couldn't get here for the auditions, she sent in a video audition.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah, you know her, Christine. Yeah, and it was a knockout audition, and Gerald, who directed it, saw it, and it was a pretty quick decision for him to put her into this particular part. And so before she'd even moved here, she'd been enrolled as an actor, and I think, and we've been contacted by other people who are planning to move here about what's available for them to do, and to me, that's a real sign of success. Mm-hmm. And it's exciting to see that we're actually getting the word outside of Ecuador to people that
people applying before they even arrived here. Yeah. That's amazing.
Well, and what's funny about that too is I had talked to her and her husband like for months.
Oh, had you?
And we had no idea that because I never talked to Gerald about it. So so it's not like she had an in with that.
Yeah. Well, of course, Nate, her husband, then became part of the set construction crew, mm-hmm. and and that often happens. We get couples that.
That's unexpected. So that's amazing.
It's great.
And for you, Cody, any unexpected niceties along the way?
For me, it's been really fun that the theater, different directors in the past wanted to do staged readings and also 1940 style radio plays. During COVID, we couldn't have audiences. So I don't know if people, hopefully on our mailing list, got it. But our old creative director, Paula Bailey, had the idea to just record and send out some things. And so she got a cast together and they recorded the radio play of Arsenic and Old Lace. And then we did a Philip Marlowe mystery. And then for Christmas each year, we've been doing a 1940s radio play of a traditional Christmas thing. And I love it. And to be on the acting side of that rather than being in the audience and watching that kind of thing like I used to has been really, really, really fun.
That's great. So you've been able to play around with the formats a little bit.
Yeah.
Mainly through necessity from COVID.
Right.
That's really cool. Any further experimentation that we can look forward to over the next year or so?
Well,
I don't know.
Go ahead.
In trying to choose scripts, we really want to keep things that people would really enjoy. But there's more and more really edgy scripts out there, and so we don't know. Our audience in Cuenca would really like
How
that
much
kind of
edge
thing.
can they take?
But maybe we will get into a little bit heavier things occasionally.
Well, that sounds fun. Maybe, a little short play or something.
Yeah,
just
one
to
of the
test
things
the waters.
that we're going to do for the first time is we're going to host a production from another production company coming up in May. And it's a local group. It's headed up by a professional production and theater expert who's bringing in a couple of her associates to do an opera.
Wow, that's really cool.
Now, that's not our production. Sure. We're just providing them space to
But still, that's
play
great.
in. But we've never done it before. Yeah. And we're hoping that the expat community, because it's targeted towards Cuencanos, and it's an Italian or French, the opera. So it's going to be subtitles, so everybody's going to be able to read it. But that's in May, and so we're going to try that and see if the community of expats and Cuencanos will come together.
That's going to be interesting.
It.
Yeah. I really like that. That's cool. Keep me in the loop for that one too.
Sure.
I want tickets. Derek, any little surprises from you?
Not that I mean, aside from, Christine just showing up there one day during one of the rehearsals that I happened to be around for, and oh, it's you.
Serendipitous. Nice.
But not too much.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot with the technology that we have in place.
Sure.
And I've found other people that are willing to push it ahead and everything, and that's been fantastic.
Yeah. I guess. So, what's been maybe your most rewarding experience throughout your time with ACT?
I would say bringing new people into the fold. Training people up that had never touched certain parts of the technology before. And I do want to take 1 second too when I was talking about the lighting team and the sound team. Yeah. In addition to having people that can program the lights and set this up and everything, we do also have a team of operators that are more than happy to jump in and just kind of run through the programs, be with the rehearsals and everything. So if anybody wants to step in just at that capacity, we're always looking for people to do that. Yeah. But beyond that, I can't really think of anything that was surprising from there. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
It may be surprising when Gerald and Pamela get more interaction going with the University of Cuenca theater department. So who knows what might come of that.
Yeah, exactly. Those opportunities are really cool. And the two plays that I've been to, the crowd reaction was great. It was very positive. And for me, I've always been curious as to, is that always the case, or are there some crowds? How much does the crowd vary?
It can be night and day.
It is. It
wow.
is. Like, so with Prisoner and Cemetery Club, I mean, they both had some serious things, but they are comedies. And so, I know for Prisoner on opening night, oh my gosh, the audience was so loving to us. They laughed and laughed and laughed at everything. It was great. Yeah. And so as an actor, you get used to that, and then you start out the next night and the crowd doesn't make a noise. Yep. And you're thinking in your head, you're saying your lines, but you're going like, oh my God, is this bad? What's happening? They're not laughing. Wasn't that line funny?
How do you deal with that self-doubt? Obviously, you just need to push through.
You just have to push through it and know that, some people might be smiling, or they might be silently chuckling. But yes, so it always varies. One night it will be boisterous, and the next night it will be deathly silent.
Yeah, well.
But then afterwards, people are complimentary usually, and so that it's okay.
That's right.
So you never get to the point where there's been hecklers or anything like that?
Oh, no.
Not yet.
This isn't stand-up comedy.
God, I hope not. Unless it's a melodrama and we need it. Yeah.
Well, although you were asking where I could go after, doing the tech crew stuff, I could become a professional heckler for ACT.
That's true. Yeah. Or a professional laugher. We can always use those.
That would be
true.
helpful.
That's true.
Yeah. Right.
That's really cool. And so for me, the hardest part of undertaking any new activity or dare say it, reinvention is generally just taking that very first step. Mm-hmm. And so what message do you guys have for someone that is considering volunteering with ACT or, perhaps even just another local organization?
Just do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're in a new place and you have a new day every day, just dare to do something different. Yeah, just dare to do it and keep going.
As scary as it might be.
Figure out that if it's for you or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you can find out pretty quickly by talking to members of whatever organization it is, whether it's a supportive environment or not. And there are those organizations which are more supportive than others of expats in their participation. Okay. I mean, obviously, I think we can consider ourselves one of those. And there are others. But I think it helps to talk to members of the group and the other volunteers so you can decide if it's someplace you'd like to try.
That's going to shortcut it a lot, that experience. So
yeah.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a two-way interview at that point.
You absolutely.
Interview the organization.
It needs to be. Yeah. Right, yeah.
That's really cool. And any tips from you, Derek?
That's pretty much the same. Just give it a shot, see if it works out. Yeah. The worst thing, you might volunteer for something, you don't like it, then you just silently walk away and you go to another organization, try that one out.
See, worst case scenario, you've lost a few hours of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's okay. But you guys are very friendly and approachable, so I'm sure that there'll be a bunch of people, hopefully, asking for.
If you're new here and you haven't been to a production, just start coming to productions, and then if it interests you afterwards, talk to anybody. Right. Talk to the people who are doing the hospitality. Talk to the actors. Talk to the people in the sound and light booth. Mm-hmm. And say, hey, I want to get involved, and we'll put you on our volunteer list and get emails out to you. Watch for audition notices. We always hold open auditions for every show. Just come.
Yeah, and be clear, too, just, that you want to try everything out, and that nobody wants to pigeonhole anybody into some role. Okay. So, if anybody wants to just try out a bunch of roles on for size, they absolutely can.
That's sort of a component of community theater generally, I think, as you probably know, is that people start out doing one thing, and then they like the experience of meeting others in the group and learning new skills, which is always fun to do, and we love people who want to broaden their, contributions. And so being able to contribute in as many aspects as you want is welcomed. And if you find you don't like to do one thing, there's going to be 17 more that you can participate in and try. Yeah. And if you don't like it, we don't punish you for trying something else.
Really?
Sure.
Carpenters, we always need carpenters.
Good point.
If you are skilled and love to build things, we always need people who can build something or create, like Christine, who came and literally started rehearsals for Seminary Club like the day after she moved here. Her husband built us a snow shovel because there was no way in the world we could find a snow shovel here in Cuenca. But so he built us one. So if you like to build things or you're a good carpenter, we could use you for
Right.
sure.
Set designers is another one.
Set design.
Sounds like a fun way to potentially learn some new skills as well, and obviously
Many
meeting
people
a bunch
do.
of people.
Yeah.
Well, and also like practical effects. You know,
Yeah.
Marion Keith has done fantastic at finding new ways to do things. But do we have anybody else that's really?
He sort of found himself a niche there.
He
Like
really
he did the
Yeah.
snow for Prisoner, and,
Right.
and the water, the buckets of water that were thrown on onto the main character.
And the snow.
And the snow, yeah, he did a great, and he tried 4 or 5 different things till he got what he
That's
wanted.
awesome. You got a special effects guy.
Yeah, we
Oh,
do.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
We
and
have,
there's
we have
special effects for Blight Spirit, so
Right.
Oh yes,
so he's
and
creating
there's a
that.
lot I can say on that, and I don't want to like.
Yeah, we can't say anything.
Yeah,
Well,
no, keep
you
it
know,
wrapped.
Yeah.
It's
We
okay.
not only do recorded sound, but for many of the holiday shows, which are the readings of some of these radio stories, we have live sound effects, and that's a whole different area, and especially that Don has developed for us. But wow, we really always need people at Christmas time for that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks.
So my point with that is, if anybody wants to learn practical effects and collaborate with somebody on that, Marion is a fantastic partner for
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
That sounds like fun. If I wasn't so busy, maybe I'd put my hand up. But maybe later.
I saw your hand up.
Right.
You're voluntold now. You're doing it.
Awesome, guys. This has been really nice. So thank you all. You know, Rick, Cody, and Derek. This was very informative for me, and I just really like seeing the ACT continue to grow. So Rick, you are a bit of a marketer for ACT. So how can people get in contact with you guys to volunteer, or
Right.
maybe just check out a show?
So it's really simple, and we've tried to make it easy for everybody. And every post that we put on Facebook, every email we send out has our website address. It's easy to remember. It's simply actseats.com. There are sections on there where you can read about the current production, read about last season, and see pictures. But most importantly, there's a button on the left-hand side for volunteers. Mm-hmm. If you go to that page as a first, part of your search for activities and volunteerism here, you'll see pretty detailed descriptions of quite a wide range of volunteer opportunities. And if you like one of them or want to learn more, there's a really short survey that you can take there. It comes to us. And generally after that, if you want to get together with us to talk about your interests, then we'll have somebody get together with you over coffee and talk about that.
Very cool. So I'm hearing 2 main pathways. Either just turn up one of the shows and just start chatting to people, or go online and see something that works for you.
Facebook. Look
Facebook
at
as well.
Look
Yep.
for Azuay Community Theatre on Facebook.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, also too, there's do you guys still do the booths at the Ground Farias?
No, but we're doing the newcomers lunches,
Oh, that's
which is
right.
great because we got a lot of newcomers who find out about us that way and,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
join. Yeah.
Right.
No, I see you guys at those. That's a really good place as well to meet new people. So fantastic. That's about all we have time for today. If you did receive value from it, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel or to our podcast using your favorite podcast app. And of course, please feel free to donate to Cuenca's charities using the link in the description. And finally, you can reach me via email for all your property needs, jason@yapatree.com. Thanks again to all our guests, and thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.